All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. You could be on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network. Of course, we're on the local FM AM dial KSHP, my personal YouTube page at PTL Radio. So, of course, the website, pushingthelimits.live. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitch. We're everywhere, and we appreciate you being a part of the show. Also, the YouTube Super Chat, where your questions and comments will be heard. Busy news day for you. We got Leonard Cardinal coming in studio for hour number 2, and we have a to including this disaster of an interview that Donald Trump did, another one with Moran on ABC. Just crazy stuff to get to and to talk about. There's a lot to get to, including this dictatorship type get together. I don't even know what else to call it with all of those in Trump's administration, or most, that are sitting at this table. It's like a scene out of North Korea. It's very bizarre. So to talk to us about this and so much more, you know, I love the guys at Midas Touch. They have the #1 podcast in America, and there's a reason for that. They're very good at what they do, and we always love when we touch base with Ron Filipowski from Midas Touch. Ron, good to see you again, my friend, on another very busy news day. I'm sure you would agree. How are you?
Yeah, you too. Good to see you again. You're all dressed up today. You got a nice polo shirt on and everything.
You're right. For me, this is dressed up. I'm a radio guy, right? I like flip-flop shorts and a T-shirt, but hey, maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend will come in here one day and tell me, how come you're not wearing a tie? But anyway, right. Before we I want to get to Amazon, and there's so many topics I want to get to you, but I want to start with this. You had said something on Twitter that was extremely funny today, but true, that even somebody like Kim Jong-un might think that this is a bit much. What do you make of these meetings that Donald Trump is having, where Pam Bondi's saying you've done the best job of any president in the first 100 days, even though his approval rating is at 39%, and all these people get together, and it's like a scene out of North Korea, right, Ron?
Yeah, you know, some of our best presidents have had cabinets who really went at each other, disagreed with each other, and it shows the strength of the leadership of the president involved, because many of them intentionally set up their cabinets where they were very bright people who disagreed with each other philosophically on a lot of things. And their management style would be to have cabinet meetings where they would sit back and let these guys go at it for quite a while. And then finally they would go, okay, this is what we're going to do. And that was it. And Washington was one whose cabinet all hated each other. Lincoln, same thing. JFK, they didn't hate each other, but they all were very philosophically different. Ronald Reagan's was too. So, you know, it's like that's a strength. Okay. So then we go and no, by the way, cabinet meetings are typically behind closed doors, because that's when you hash things out. You're candid. You tell the president where I think we're going wrong. You go at it with each other. And presidents oftentimes arrive at some of the most monumental decisions in American history after those knockdown dragouts behind closed doors. But Trump's had 2 cabinet meetings that have both been the same, that they're completely non-substantive. He invites media in there. So there's all this media, there's all these cameras. The whole thing is in front of the cameras. So there's no substantive policy discussions whatsoever. The whole thing is a glaze session where just everyone goes around the table and says how much they love Trump and how great he is, while he's sitting there with a 41% approval rating with the public. So, you know, it's sickening to watch it, where, you know, person after person after person just constantly praising this guy. And I just, me being a historian, my degree is in history. I used to be a history teacher, and just putting what's happening right now in the context with some of the other presidents and their cabinet meetings makes it even worse to me.
Yeah, it's a dictatorship, no doubt. Ron, what do you make of the fact that Donald Trump takes to Truth Social today, doing what he normally does, blaming Joe Biden for the stock market? So under Joe Biden, that was apparently Donald Trump's stock market. And now under Donald Trump, this is apparently Joe Biden's stock market. And I know you talked about this. This is absurd. But the fact that anybody would actually believe this is even more absurd. What do you make of Trump, again, blaming the economy and the stock market and all of his problems on Joe Biden?
Yeah, somebody, forget which media outlet, just did a story where the first 2 months of his presidency, he mentioned Joe Biden 580 times. So, I mean, he clearly has Biden derangement syndrome, him and his press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, who just constantly, mentions Joe Biden, blames everything on Biden. So, I covered the campaign. I watched every single speech that he made, every rally, every interview, every podcast, literally like thousands of Trump interviews I watched. And it was like every day the stock market was up when Biden was president. He was saying, well, that's because the investors know I'm going to win this election and they're feeling good. And then it would go down and he would blame Biden for somehow for that. And then it would go back up and he'd say, oh, this is because of me. So it was like that for like 2 years where he was constantly claiming it would go up and it's because of me, and it would go down. It's because, his favorite line in 2022 was when the stock market was starting to surge in the second half of 2022, he was saying, well, it's still running on the fumes of what I did. It's like, I mean, this guy's utterly ridiculous. So he comes out today and he's like, yes, well, the market's going down and it's probably going to keep going down in the second quarter, but it's all Biden's fault. And it's like, even like his hardcore cultists are going to go, oh, they're going to buy whatever he sells. But the smart people around, in the Republican Party are saying like, come on, man, this
even
is
Dave
ridiculous.
Portnoy, he's even lost Dave Portnoy, like one of his biggest supporters.
Because Portnoy's always talking about how much money he's losing in the stock market every day. So he's a day trader. He's a gambler. He gambles on sports and stocks. So yeah, he'll be like, I'm down 8 million. What the hell is Trump doing? So, obviously he's hurting Portnoy a lot, but there's been others too, like Senator John Kennedy, who's very MAGA, very right wing, is just like, no, this is Trump's stock market. It's Trump's economy. He owns it. He needs to stop this nonsense.
Yeah, no doubt. What do you make of what took place yesterday with Amazon? I wanted to talk to you about this because it appears as though Trump was very angry. We've heard reports, as you have, Ron, that he picked up the phone and called Jeff Bezos, and Bezos did what you predicted, and you were right, that he would eventually cave. That's exactly what Bezos did. What do you make of this?
Yeah, it was funny doing this in real time, watching it play out, because the story comes out by Punchbowl at 8 a.m. and they break the story that Amazon, and by the way, Amazon's CEO is not Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is on a yacht with his girlfriend. He's not running the day-to-day operations, right?
Right.
So it's a CEO obviously made this decision. Maybe Bezos knew about it, maybe he didn't. But we're going to start showing the tariff amount when you buy some, when you see something on Amazon, it's going to say the price, the tax, and the tariff amount. And let everybody see with open eyes, because obviously a huge percentage of the Amazon stuff comes from China, a big chunk of it. So those 145% tariffs are affecting them tremendously. So, they put the story out, and then Leavitt comes into the press conference and she's holding a copy of the story in her hand. And so she gets asked about it and she goes off, she trashes Amazon and she's saying, this is hostile. It's hostile political stuff by Amazon. And then an hour later at 10 o'clock, the Amazon puts out a statement saying, oh, no. We were just talking about doing it on our discounted products, not on all of them, but we've decided not to do it on any now. So it's all gone. So I said at the time, look, one of two things happened here. Either Punchbowl got the story wrong, which is basically what Amazon's trying to say, or Trump called Jeff Bezos and got him to back down in that 1 hour window from between 8 and 10 that happened. And so so I predicted he probably got Bezos, because the reason why I didn't think Punchbowl got it wrong is because Punchbowl's main sponsor is Amazon.
Well, of course. What a shocker.
So they're not, that's why they got the story. That's why they got the scoop. I mean, they got it from their main sponsor. They're not going to get it wrong.
Right.
They're paying their bills. So yes, we find out Trump admitted that he called Bezos and got him to back down. And so, that's a pretty scary thing when, the president of the United States has these guys so intimidated, when reality is, in many respects, Bezos has a lot more power than Trump.
You would think so, but at one point Bezos was very outspoken against Donald Trump, and then all of a sudden he realized, okay, I better suck up to this guy because it'll be better for my bottom line. That's exactly what's going on here, and I put Mark Zuckerberg in the exact same category. It's
Sure.
extremely unfortunate. Do you give Whitmer credit for what took place with her brief interaction with Donald Trump? Because it appears as though it was a victory for her yesterday. What do you make of this?
I had a feeling you were going to ask me that. Okay, so that was a dangerous situation, obviously, and I had spoke to some people with Whitmer's team before, giving me the heads up because they knew that I was hard on Newsom and I was hard on her trip to the Oval Office when she got pulled in there and she put the binder in front of her face.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that before this was even announced that Whitmer and Trump were going to do something together, they contacted me and were just like, look, they're trying to basically reason with me. And I understood what they were saying. They're like, look, she's governor of a state. She's trying to save this military base. Trump can close the military base, snap of the fingers. This is important to Michigan. It's important to our economy. And she's doing the absolute minimum that she has to do. She's not going to his rally. She's going to meet him at the airport. They're going to do their brief at the Air Force, at the Army base. And they're going to do a brief little thing. And then she's going to go. And I said, well, devil's in the details here, guys. I'm like, look, you have to look at it like this. The way that the Democratic base voters view Trump is he's not a normal Republican president. This isn't Whitmer going to meet with George W. Bush. This is the way they view Donald Trump is he is the personification of evil. So when you're basically going and shaking his hand and taking pictures with him, the way Democratic primary voters for president in 2028 are viewing this is that's Hitler and you're hanging out with Hitler. And so, I understand it's a tough balancing act when you're trying to run a state, keep military bases open, in Newsom's case, get disaster aid, and still have to deal with this guy, but not kill yourself. So
right.
I thought she did okay. I thought she probably shouldn't have gone up there to speak, but she also went up there and did not thank Trump. She just said, I appreciate that this base is staying open. Yeah. And she didn't mention him by name. So I thought she handled it as well as she could have.
Completely agree with it. She did what she needed to do to get the help that they needed. So I agree with you there. Ron, I have to ask you about this. The MS, Donald Trump and the administration claiming that this guy Garcia is an MS-13 gang member. I want to ask you about this because to me, this is exactly where the Republican Party is at today. His hand, and they claim that those were gang tattoos, and we all know that was debunked, and those were photoshopped. So in this ABC interview, he's asked about that. And he believes the nonsense. No, look at those tattoos. It proves that he was in a gang. And then the person who was doing the interview, Moran, who I thought did a pretty good job, said, well, no, Mr. President, that was debunked and that those were photoshopped. And then he starts attacking him. And I'm thinking to myself, this is where the Republican Party is at today. Where do you make of this? I mean, there's no evidence that this guy was in a gang. There's no evidence that he's a violent criminal or has any criminal record for that matter. The Supreme Court rules 9-0. Donald Trump has defied the Supreme Court just like he does with every other judge that rules against him. What do you make of this story and the way Donald Trump continues to, parade the fact that this guy's an MS-13 gang member when there's no evidence to prove that?
Well, in an interview before that, he claimed that the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 for him when they ruled the other way.
Right.
And this goes back to the cabinet and his advisors. He's surrounded by liars. And he's surrounded by people who only want to bring good news to him and tell him what he wants to hear, because it's literally like the old emperors in Rome where, like, if you brought them bad news, you'd be executed, even though you're telling them the truth. That's the way their mentality is. So he has fed lies. Not only is he a habitual liar, but everyone around him is too. So he's constantly fed lies. So I believe that he actually thought that photo was a real photo because that's what he was shown by his people and told was real. Just like it was Stephen Miller who told him that they won in the Supreme Court 9-0 when they lost. That was Miller who told him that. So, and of course, he's got a pea brain, and he's on the golf course half of his presidency.
Right.
By the way, the Michigan trip was the very first time he took a trip as president where he did not play golf. That was the first time. Every other time he played golf on his travel. So, yeah, I mean, he it's not like this guy reads anything on his own. He only knows what is being fed to him by the people around him, and the people around him are feeding him a steady diet of lies. So he's not somebody who's interested in the truth anyway, and so he just pushes the lie. So when he's confronted by it, he's almost shocked.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? That's not a real tattoo. What do you mean? It's
absurd. Yeah, but according to Elon Musk, they are the media now. These people who throw out this right-wing propaganda and photoshopped pictures. Ron, before I let you go, tell me if you disagree with me on this or not. I want to get, and this isn't the most important issue of the day or of the week or of the year, but Saquon Barkley, I want to ask you a little bit about this, because my take is as follows. Listen, you have the right to play golf with the president. If you want to hang out with the president, it's not against the law. Okay. Not saying you're a criminal. However, Saquon Barkley was the guy that was at the forefront of Black Lives Matter. Maybe I shouldn't say the forefront, but he was the guy that was taking a knee, wanting equality, which, by the way, I commend him for doing all that stuff. Donald Trump called people that looked like him and look like him sons of bitches. And then Saquon Barkley's reaction to what he got was, well, I'm just respecting the office. Okay, well, if you shook the guy's hand and you went to the White House and you accepted an award or something, fine. But he spent 24 to 48 hours with this guy. That's not respecting the office. That's hanging out with the guy as if you like him personally. Am I wrong, and are people wrong criticizing somebody like Saquon Barkley for hanging out with the guy that called people that look like him sons of bitches?
Yeah. So I felt I got a lot of Herschel Walker vibes out of this, man. So because Herschel Walker was like Trump's black friend for like 30 years, right? And because he played football with him. And so like he would always roll out Herschel Walker to events like, this is my friend Herschel, and Herschel loved him, still does, kisses Trump's ass, idolizes him, all that. And so Trump loves to like latch on to these athletes who are just not very worldly, let's say, not very keeping up, naive, a little bit naive. And when I listened to Saquon talk about this, which I did several times, I listened to his video and read what he put on Twitter. It just seems like he's just very naive, easily taken advantage of. And he needs someone to sit down with him and explain to him the implications of what he's doing here. Because at first he was just like, well, of course I went to the White House. I have to respect the office of the president. Then we find out he played golf with him. Then we find out he's doing photos with him in the Oval Office. So, don't try and have it both ways. Are you a Trump guy, or are you just doing the minimum, going to the Oval Office for the Eagles ceremony, So I think that he's just one of these guys who I think is going to regret what he's doing right now. He's also very religious. So they've gotten their hooks in him that way by he's doing some Christian thing with Kayleigh McEnany, I think, this weekend. So I think they're definitely trying to cultivate him. Obviously, he's a very popular guy in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania politically is a key state. So it seems pretty obvious that that's what they're trying to do here. Whether he's going to continue going down this road, I don't know. Obviously, his quarterback is not down with it because he didn't go to the ceremony.
Yeah, I have so much respect for him, by the way, for not doing that. And I'm so glad the Eagles won. On a lighthearted note, you did post this on your social media. It seems as though these days when Kid Rock makes appearances on Fox News, they're quoting him as, quote, a rock legend. What are your thoughts on that, Ron?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Like, it's MAGA has such a hard time getting celebrities, whether it's actors or athletes or, singer, rock stars, whatever. Like they don't get the A-listers, of course. They don't even get the B-listers. They're getting like people who were C-listers 20 years ago. That's basically who their celebrities are. That's why they have like Kevin Sorbo and, Roseanne Barr and Kid Rock and all these like washed up has-beens, But so it's one thing to like say, well, look, this is the best we can get, man. Like I kind of would do it like a little tongue in cheek, like, we're rolling out one of the oldies, one of the classics. But instead of doing that, they hype these guys like they're like really big stars still. And it's like, they never actually were stars. So, yeah, I mean, to put him out, I mean, you could say Kid Rock had his moment, like, what was it, late 90s, where he had his little couple albums and he was kind of semi-big. But has he done anything like in the last 25 years? I mean, any new hits out there? I don't know. I don't really follow Kid Rock too closely anymore. But no, it's just funny that they hype these people as much bigger than what they really are. Mm-hmm. Kirk Cameron is another one I could think of. Scott Baio.
What about Chachi? Yeah, I was just going to say
James Woods.
All these guys blocked me on social media.
All washed up.
Yeah, James Woods blocked me. Chachi blocked me. Kid Rock blocked me. They all blocked me on social media. I don't know, Ron. I don't know. Do any of these celebrities block you? I'm curious. You have a massive following. They don't block you.
No, I think most of them don't block me because I generally don't reply to their posts.
Right.
So that's one way you're going to get blocked. And I think a lot of them, they want to sort of know what I'm posting, so they don't block me for that reason. I generally don't get blocked by anybody, really. Yeah. That's kind of cool. I like that. I'm not trying to get blocked by anybody, so I don't mind that they don't block me. And I guess the only theory I could think of is that I don't really engage with them, right? Because most of those guys have monetized accounts, and I don't want to help them make money, so I generally don't engage with them for that reason. As much as I would like to, I don't. So that's one reason. But I also think a lot of them follow me at the same time, so they want to follow me.
And your sarcastic humor is very, very smart and very good. So I think a lot of people enjoy that, even if it's to their own expense. So I think that's probably that's probably another reason.
Actually, a lot of them don't hate me for whatever reason, even though they don't like me a lot, but they don't hate me.
And you talk to some wackadoodles on the right on a regular basis, right? To some extent, some of these people are crazy. Which I think is awesome, by the way. I think that's a testament to you because even the crazies on the far right respect what you do. So you got to be doing something right, Ron. Anyway, before we let you go, Ron, and thanks for coming on again. Appreciate it. What are you working on today? What article are you going to be putting out today that we can read?
Oh, man. No, I'm so glad to have a day off today. I'm having a day off because my podcast partner, Anthony Davis, had to go in for a little minor medical procedure today. So we pre-recorded the show yesterday, which gives me the day off. And we're here in Maine, and it's like our second day we've had that's not miserable in the last 5 months. So it's like 60 degrees and sunny. So I'm enjoying that.
Well, I appreciate you joining us on your day off, Ron. That means a lot. Enjoy yourself and enjoy your day off, my friend. And we will catch up with you next week. Something tells me there'll be a lot more to talk to you about next week. I don't think it'll be a slow news day when you come on. So, Ron,
whatever happens, it'll be Biden's fault.
Everything. Well,
remember that.
It's not just Biden's fault. It's Obama's fault. It's George Soros's fault. It's the radical Democrats. We can go down the list. And then it's undocumented immigrants. Let's not forget about that. And then he just goes straight to the brown people. So, yeah, no doubt. Ron, eventually Midas Touch will be on that list, too. He'll blame Midas Touch for all of his problems. Keep up the good work, my friend. Love what you do. Enjoy your day off. We'll catch you next week, Ron. Thank you.
Okay. See ya.
All right. Appreciate it. Ron Filipkowski, everybody. One of the best in the business. I love that guy. He is so smart. And he's so good at what he does. Please check him out if you haven't already. He's got a gazillion followers for just really, really good at what he does. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Here's what I want to do. I want to take a break, and we'll take a brief break. Relax, everybody. We will take phone calls on the other side, but before we do that, we got Leonard Cardinal that's going to be joining us in the studio today. Over 2 decades as a lieutenant, a former cop here in North Vegas. Always love when he co-hosts with me. We are going to be dissecting with Leonard this interview that Donald Trump did with ABC yesterday with Moran, who I thought did a really good job. What a disaster. A lot to dissect in this interview. We will get some reaction. We will play some audio from that interview, and then we will get your reaction. We'll get Leonard's reaction to that. Trust me, folks, I'm going to be playing you highlights of this interview because I actually think it's worth it because it's that crazy, even by Donald Trump standards. We are going to talk about that. We are going to play that audio when we come back. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back in 90 seconds. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Greenview Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Programming note for you. One of my favorite guests, JoJo from Jers. Joanna Carducci is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. You're certainly not going to want to miss that. And some special guests will be joining us on the show Friday. The economy across the country is struggling, including right here in Las Vegas. And we're going to have a special guest on Friday joining us to talk to us a little bit all the layoffs in these casinos on the Strip. This portion of the program is brought to you by the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, home of the $20 ribeye steak. And they're giving you a 10% tariff payback. If you hit a jackpot of $1,199 or more, you're going to get 10% of that included in free slot play. Call it an April 10% tariff rebate. Check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill. Going to the YouTube Super Chat, Mr. Canadian says, why hasn't Trump been sued for defamation for lying about the tattoos when it's been debunked? Even a Fox reporter even called them out. I'm calling today, Bud, about this stuff. Well, you're welcome to, Mr. Canadian, and you're absolutely right. I think that family has a case, and they should be filing a lawsuit against Trump. Reaver says, rhetorical question, but if right-wing Russian bought shill Tim Pool is allowed into the White House press room, why don't they let Midas touch in? It's a very good point, Reaver. Tim Pool is not a journalist. He has no integrity. He's a complete imbecile. And the guys at Midas Touch are very, very, very good at what they do. And I would love for them to be in the White House press pool and in that press briefing room. All right, so joining me right now in studio, I wanted to introduce a man who has been a lieutenant for years, a former police officer, and it's always great when he co-hosts with me in studio. Of course, I'm talking about Leonard Cardinal, my friend Leonard joining us in studio. Leonard, it is good to see you, my friend. How are you?
How you doing, Brian? Ready for some fun today?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Good to see you, Leonard, as
chop it up.
always. Yes, we are going to chop it up. So, Leonard, I'm sure you've heard about this ABC interview Moran did with Donald Trump. It didn't go very well for Donald Trump because Moran was prepared, as any journalist should be. And it wasn't a puffer interview. I believe he asked the tough questions. So I want to start by playing you this, and I want to get your reaction to it. So, as you know, Donald Trump has gone after law firms because they employed people that he doesn't like. Really no other reason than that. Have a listen to this exchange and listen to Donald Trump give his ridiculous excuses that make him sound like a dictator.
You've gone after law firms because they've employed people you don't like, or they have represented people
Well,
you
they
don't
obviously
like.
agreed because they paid me a lot of money.
Well, the reason they agreed is because you were threatening to destroy their business with your executive order that said you can't represent clients before the federal government. That's
these
their
are
bread and
big
butter.
boys. These are the biggest, most powerful lawyers. These are not
You got
people
a lot of
that are
leverage as
easily
president.
intimidated.
As president, you got all the cards.
I mean, they paid hundreds of millions of dollars because they felt, I guess, they probably felt they did something wrong.
It was for survival, sir.
No, it is.
They didn't do it because they felt like they did something wrong. They did it because he was going to ruin their business. They felt like they had no other option.
He said he was going to.
Right. So, I mean, when Donald Trump, I mean, that's a dictatorship, Leonard, is it not?
Look, he was brought into court, and there were some attorneys. He ended up getting 34 felonies, and he was miserable in court. You could see that he was miserable. So in his mind, when you come into power, you start to eliminate the people who made you sit there and listen to this. All these felonies get applied. And so they don't really have much choice because, you know, you need the money and the cash to run your business.
Right.
And he has a lot of influence. And if he tells Pam Bondi or Kash Patel that this person has done something illegal, violated his rights, etc., proof or not, they're going to go and take care of it. And you got to keep in mind, a lot of these attorneys are very smart, but they have families just like me and you.
Right, of
and
course.
They have bills, and they're just regular people, and they don't feel like being hunted down is really the way they want to spend their
Agree.
time.
Agree. And this is the point in the interview. And let me just be very clear here. There's no reasonable person with a brain over 20 that would say 145% tariffs on China is a good thing for the American people. It's horrible. But I want you to listen to the point where Donald Trump says it's a good thing. Have a listen to this.
Secretary said we basically have an embargo on China.
Look, you're trying to say something's going to happen. Terry.
No. Okay, well,
nothing's going to happen.
You know business.
Terry,
I want to ask you.
Terry, I do know business.
Yes.
And
So 145% tariffs on China, and that is
that's good.
basically
That's
an
good.
embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on
They
everything
deserve
from
it.
electronics to clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know whether or not China's going
That's
to eat it.
mathematics.
China probably will eat those tariffs, but at 145, they basically can't do much business with the United States. And they were making from us $1 trillion a year. They were ripping us off like nobody's ever ripped us off. And by the way, we have other countries that were just as bad. If you look at the European Union, it was terrible what they've done to us. Every country, almost every country in the world was ripping us off. But they're not doing that
I
anymore.
want you to think of
Spoken like a true economic scholar that Donald Trump is. Quote, let's quote that one. China probably will eat those tariffs. 145% tariffs on China. The stock market is crumbling. Your 401ks are
And
going
that's
down
not
the
how
toilet.
tariffs work.
No.
China will eat their tariffs, but they don't eat our tariffs. That's
Right.
not how it works.
It just makes absolutely no sense. His answer is so asinine and ridiculous. A fifth grader would know more.
Can I add this? And if callers call in and they want to add into this, I would like to know their opinion. But what people in America don't understand is we were building products, we were manufacturing, we were creating services, and people were not making enough money, some of these CEOs. So they went to other countries like China to sell their product, to make more money. That's what imbalanced the trade, because we wanted to give away our intellectual property. We wanted to sell it. Nobody stole it. We were making record profits, and China was just sitting back saying, yes, give us everything you know and all your knowledge and all your products, and we're glad to pay you. But now the economic karma has come back, and that, in my opinion, that's why it's upside down.
And by the way, if there's anybody that's eating, food all day, it would be Donald Trump if he wants to talk about eating things. But that's another story for another
He looks
show.
like he put on a lot of weight.
Yeah. So, he looks like he does, by the way. But, somebody from Newsmax will say, Mr. President, it looks like you're losing so much weight. You look wonderful. Oh, really? I would say, go ahead and take your shirt off, Mr. President. Let's see those pecs. Let's see that beautiful body that you have. I'm sure Melania Trump would agree, even though she doesn't even want to be in the same zip code as you, let alone in the same bedroom. But anyway, this is a story, Leonard, that hits home for me, and it's personal. I have some people that are close to me that live in Maryland right now. This man is from Maryland. His name is Mr. Garcia. It's become a big national story. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that he should be sent back. So this is the point in the interview that is so typical of Donald Trump and these MAGA idiots, these disgusting MAGA people who are so stupid and they believe everything they hear from right-wing media. So he does have tattoos on his knuckle, which have absolutely nothing to do with being in a gang, let alone MS-13. Nothing. That's already been proven.
Right.
So what some Trumpers decided to do is they decided to Photoshop some MS-13 signs on his knuckle. That's already been proven, okay? It's been debunked. And Donald Trump is asked about it, and he's so stupid that he is either unaware or blatantly lying. Either or, it doesn't matter. When asked about this, listen to the misinformation that Donald Trump believes. He'll believe anything, and listen to how this exchange went down.
He wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshop, Terry. You can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you
we'll
think it
agree
was
to disagree.
Photoshop? Well,
Here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine,
No,
sir. I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
When
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't
Take a look
there,
at the
but they're
photograph.
there now, right?
No,
but they're there
in
now.
your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
he's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look at that.
It's you just such a disservice.
We'll take a look at
Why
that,
don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested.
Because it's a lie, you imbecile. You morbidly obese jackass, 34-count felon, imbecile. You adjudicated rapist, piece of human garbage. You idiot. Because it's been proven that was debunked. That was Photoshopped, you idiot. And poor Moran has to sit there. I wouldn't have been able to finish the interview. I would say, no, you are misinformed or a liar. It has been disproven. He does not have MS-13 on his knuckles. That was Photoshopped, you morbidly obese orange orangutan fool.
He's trying to gaslight somebody in real time, on the record, on camera, and says, no, just believe it, just because I'm telling you. And he won't let it go. And isn't that part of the MAGA philosophy, that they just believe what he says? And he even said himself.
And then he's attacking him. He's attacking the reporter.
I don't even know you. Well, they scheduled him to do the interview. So what does that mean? They scheduled someone that no one knows to, it's a word salad sandwich, the whole thing.
And it was Photoshopped. He actually thinks MS-13 is on his knuckles. That's how stupid this guy is.
I don't think that's enough to consider someone a gang member. You have to have self-admission. You have to have association.
Leonard, let me tell you what I want to do. This is my dream, okay? Somehow when Donald Trump is sleeping, or he thinks he's getting a Mike Tyson tattoo, I don't know. I want somebody to tattoo something on his forehead that says rapist, okay? And then he could walk around all day and, put something on his face or on his knuckles that he doesn't want. Forget about even being Photoshopped, but let's just say for a second that somebody Photoshops something on Donald Trump, and we all think it's real. It could say something like child molester or pedophile or adjudicated rapist or 34-count felon. And I would take that to the interview and I would say, here you go, Mr. President. This is true, isn't it? On your chest, you have a tattoo that says felon, or you have a tattoo that says adjudicated rapist. This is true, isn't it, Mr. President? Because this picture must prove it. And he would say, no, that's not true. Somebody Photoshopped that. Okay, jackass, that's the same thing you guys are doing with Garcia, you stupid
or
idiot.
if it was something that wasn't true.
Yeah, exactly.
What if they tattooed something that's not true? And
that's
the
true.
same,
That actually
well,
true.
your chest says that you're a good golfer. And it's,
Exactly. Yes. Put something on there that's not true, like you're a decent human being, or you've actually read the Bible, you freaking idiot. This is the point of the interview, too, where Moran starts talking to him about the weaponizing of the DOJ, because as we all know, Donald Trump is just going after people that he doesn't like. This is the point of the interview where Donald Trump defends it, and you're not going to believe what he says in his defense here. Listen to this.
That Biden knew anything about it.
Fair enough. But you are the president now, and I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
No. The people that I think are dishonest. It's not that I don't even know most of them.
It's a good reason.
People that I
These
think
people
are
made you
dishonest.
angry.
No, it's not anger. These are people that I think are very dishonest. I don't think they're worthy of being able to go into top secret information. I think that's fine. And Biden did that with many of our people. But when you look at it, these are people that I don't think are worthy. That's my decision. It's not a question of anger.
Okay.
What about ism?
He's going after people, quote, that he thinks are dishonest. Well, if that was the case, then every attorney in the country would go after Donald Trump, because there's not one thing this guy says that is honest. All of his ex-wives would go after him. Well, some of them already have. Think about that for a minute.
He'd go after his press secretary.
Yeah,
and
everybody in his cabinet. This is the president of the United States, and he's being asked about weaponizing the DOJ. He always claims other people have done that to him, and he's defending it because he thinks some of these people are dishonest. I mean, what an imbecile.
Didn't he himself, before he got elected, say that revenge was coming? Didn't he make a comment about revenge?
He'd be a dictator on day one. For one day, he'd be a dictator. This is absolutely a revenge tour, and it's disgusting. Now, again, another point in this interview where Trump is blatantly lying, which, again, he does every day. This won't shock you. But as we know, tourism is down in this country right now. And the stats, you could look them up if you don't believe me. The stats are staggering. There are a lot of people.
Not to interrupt you, but they could look at the videos online.
Right.
Walking through the MGM, walking through the casinos.
Yeah.
No one there and no workers.
Yeah, it's a ghost town right now in Las Vegas, and it's happening, though, throughout the country. Tourism is way down. This is Donald Trump starting a statement by saying tourism is way up. I mean, it's like saying Trump weighs 120 pounds. It's like saying the earth is flat. Have a listen to this.
And Canadians, many of them, are really angry, furious about your talk about we're going to take over. Canada's going to become the 51st state. And it kind of is of a piece. A lot of travel is down into the United States from around the world. It feels like there's been reputational
The country's
damage.
doing great.
Well,
prices are down.
Not the tourism.
Gasoline's down. Energy's down. Tourism is going to be way up. Wait till you see the numbers.
What?
Tourism is way up.
It is?
Now, Canada, tourism's doing
Canada
very
doesn't
well.
wanna
We're
come
doing
here.
very well. We're doing very well. Wait till you see the real numbers come out in 6 months from now. Wait till you see the numbers.
In 6 months from now, everything's way up. This guy, Leonard, is so disconnected from the reality of how his policies are impacting Americans in this country. And the problem is that what we saw in his little press meeting this morning, where it looked like a scene out of North Korea with Kim Jong-un, is that he has all these yes men and yes women around him that he doesn't understand even, and maybe he doesn't care, and he doesn't understand the reality of how many people in this country are suffering and struggling. And he says gas prices are way down and inflation is way down. And it's
They're
insane.
suffering and struggling because we can't do what he does. So when the mortgage company calls and they want their payment, we can't be like, well, it's going to be painful for the mortgage company for a while. You know, it'll get better. I don't really have the money right now, and I'll get back to you and my car payment. And so he's living in a world that doesn't exist and trying to make people believe it's okay.
Right. And then we go to his poll numbers, which are some of the lowest in American history. Last week,
Since the beginning of polling, I think.
Correct. When his poll numbers were in the mid to low 40s last week, they were some of the lowest numbers in American history. And now in some polls, even Fox News and some other polls, I saw one number that was as low as 39%, which are the lowest poll numbers in the first 100 days in any president in over 7 decades.
And he said those pollsters at Fox should be fired.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He goes after facts, people that are spreading facts. And this is the moment in the interview where Moran asks him, you know, there are some people that voted for you, Mr. President, that are saying, wait a second, I didn't sign up for this. Listen to Donald Trump's pathetic response to this.
Concern out there. People are worried. Even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually, and this is what I campaigned on. I said that we've been abused by other countries at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We were losing $3 to $5 billion a day on trade.
What? What?
A day?
What is he talking about? He just throws numbers out there and his stupid sociopath followers believe it. It's insanity. He just says things that are blatantly false, and people believe it.
Well,
These are the same idiots that voted for him.
He tried to say that this is Biden's economy. Anytime it goes down, anytime Wall Street. But last week he was bragging that it's never been better and that it was his economy. And every time he mentions tariffs, Wall Street goes down.
Right.
And every time he backs off or says, I've been talking to China, which No one in China. China came out and gave a statement and said, we are not talking to them about these policies at all.
Yeah.
No one is.
It's insanity. And do you remember when the Doge stuff first came out in the administration and Elon Musk, they were saying they're going to save $2 trillion.
Yeah.
And then that number went down to $1 trillion. And now the number is $150 billion.
But they can't even prove that.
And they can't prove that either. That's what I was just going to get to, Leonard. They can't prove to that either. And here's Trump saying that he saved hundreds of billions of dollars. Listen to this.
There were some things where, when I heard about them, I put them back, as you know. There are things that I'm considering right now putting back, but overall, we've saved hundreds of billions of dollars.
Well, the original promise was $2 trillion, went to $1 trillion, now to $150 billion, and heading
you don't know
south.
what it's going to be because we have things that are at a very high level that are being looked at right now.
High level.
We also found tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse, as you know. We found a lot of fraud.
Oh, you
there
did?
was a lot of fraud.
there's a lot of
Fraudulent
fraud,
things were
all right.
taking place. And we ended that, and those people are going to be suffering because
Just
of it.
a legal note, fraud is a crime. There have been no referrals to the Justice Department on any of
Well,
these.
you don't know that, do you? How do you know that?
Have there been
How do you
referrals to
know
the,
that?
are there
Why,
criminal
how would you
referrals?
know that there were no referrals? I think there were referrals.
They generally, all right, there's been no investigation from the
How do
Justice
you know
Department.
that?
I'm asking you, sir.
No, you're not asking me. You made a statement. You're not
Now
asking
I'm
me.
asking you.
That was a statement that you made. There have
Now I'm
been.
asking you.
Have there been? Yes, there have.
So there have been referrals for fraud from the
Of course
working
there have been. Take a look at some of these things that took place. Billions of dollars were given to people for no reason whatsoever. Of course there have been.
Well, if there have been referrals, then why don't you tell us about it? Why don't you give us one
If there
name?
were, he'd be proud.
You lying scumbag criminal. Why don't you give us one name? You lying dope, you idiot. If there were referrals, then somebody would have made that public. It would be public. You're claiming there were referrals. The reason why that reporter is doing his due diligence saying there weren't, because there haven't been. You keep saying there's all this fraud. Fraud is a crime in this country. Name me the company. Name me a person specifically. You haven't given out any referrals. You're a liar, and you just got caught. And yes, I'm making the claim. You adjudicated rapist orange orangutan, you. And here's the point in the interview, Leonard, where he's asked about Vladimir Putin. Now, just to give people just a little bit of background, I think most of my intelligent listeners understand this. This was the guy who said the war would be over in 24 hours. All I got to do is pick up the phone and it'll be over in 24 hours, right? And we're now over 3 months into this, and every single time Donald Trump claims that Vladimir Putin wants peace, there's another airstrike where innocent women and children are losing their lives in Ukraine. And the person who wants peace is Vladimir Zelensky, who was ready to sign on the dotted line last month, and then there's more airstrikes, and then more innocent people are dead because of one person, Vladimir Putin. And what is Donald Trump's response? Hey, Vladimir, stop it. That's his master plan. Well, he's asked about Vladimir Putin. He's asked if do you think Putin wants peace? And here's his pathetic answer. And this is the idiot who MAGA Republicans say is tougher on Russia than anybody, which is laughable. Have a listen to this.
That he's willing to stop the fighting. Don't
You
forget,
think he wants
this
peace?
is
You think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
I think he does. Yes, I think he
Still.
does. I think
Even
because
with the
of
raining
me,
missiles
I
on-
think he really his dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that.
Do you trust
I
him?
think-
Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
And then
happy.
you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered
All
with
right,
a
we're back to
tattoo doesn't have the tattoo. You know.
All right.
I mean, you're being dishonest.
No,
But-
I'm not.
but let me
No, I
just
am
tell you,
not,
Do
sir.
I trust? I don't trust a lot of people, but I do think this. I think that let's say he respects me, and I believe because of me, he's not going to take over the whole. But his decision, his choice would be to take over all of Ukraine.
So again, I repeat, as I have before, that you're the person who seems to trust Vladimir Putin in Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the guy that appears to trust Putin while all these airstrikes are going on and Russia's throwing out missiles, killing innocent women and children, by the way. And Donald Trump again attacks the reporter for asking the question. You're the idiot who said the war would be over in 24 hours. Interesting. The war is still going on. And no closer to a peace deal than certainly they were on day one. In fact, I would also make the argument that you're probably worse off now than we were on day one.
Well, all the people around him tell him that everyone's going to do what he says, But when you get to another country with another leader, you can't just tell people what to do. You got to negotiate with them. You have to interact. You have to have conversations. You can't just point your finger. But everyone else around him, and about 77 million people in this country, just do whatever he says, whether it's reality or not.
Right.
He can just make up something. And he said, if I say something enough, that's the truth.
And it's so interesting because he said that these were fake questions. Leonard,
What is a fake question?
Can you name me one fake question that this journalist asked that wasn't a legitimate question? You want to know what a fake question is? When these idiots in the White House from right-wing media outlets like OAN or Newsmax or even Fox Noise or Lindell TV, any of these slobs, these idiots, raise their hand and Caroline, Donald Trump is looking very fit. By the way, there's no human being on the planet that would say Donald Trump looks fit.
I wish I could remember which athlete it was. He stood next to him, and the athlete was 6'3", 215 pounds, and which is what he said he is. And
Mr. President, Mr. President, you're looking very fit. Or Caroline, the president must have an unbelievable nutrition regimen and exercise routine. He's looking so fit these days. By the way, I will also go on the record again and say that Donald Trump is never seen publicly with his shirt off because he's a disgusting slob. But that's what we would call a fake question. Or when Marjorie Taylor Greene's stupid boyfriend, Brian Glenn, who I've met before, who's a douchebag, is in there and in the Oval Office and asks Zelensky, why are you not wearing a shirt and tie? That's what we would call a fake question. Oh, the president, you're looking so fit. You're looking so gorgeous today, as if they're interviewing somebody like Brad Pitt, right? They treat Donald Trump like he's Brad Pitt. I'm telling you, it's a scene from North Korea. Those are what we would call fake questions. It's not a fake question when innocent women and children are dying and an evil, murderous dictator in Vladimir Putin invaded our allies, and you scumbag are the guy that has called Zelensky a dictator. You said that Ukraine started the war, which is not true. That is not a fake question. That's not a fake question when we say, do you still think that Vladimir Putin wants peace? When the day you say he wants peace, he kills a bunch of innocent women and children?
The next day.
Exactly. Hours later. But that's some sort of a fake question, and you say that you still believe that he wants peace, you idiot. Why don't you send him some more COVID tests?
When he said Putin might be tapping him along, that's probably the most accurate thing that Trump has said so far, because he is tapping him along.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. What a turd. And one more cut I want to play for you. And listen, I could play the whole interview and we could talk about it, but this is the point, as I mentioned earlier, when it goes back to Mr. Garcia, right? The ruling was 9-0.
That might have been the best part.
Right.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court ruled 9-0. Okay. That's not fiction. That's fact. This is a conservative court, and they ruled that he needs to be sent back, and the president needs to do what he needs to do to make sure that he is sent back. Now, obviously, Donald Trump has not done that. And this is the point where Donald Trump, again, doesn't want to take responsibility for anything. Listen to this pathetic weasel and this draft dodger now blame his attorneys. I'm not making this up. Have a listen to this.
We're not being treated fairly by all judges.
Oh, that's a subject. So you're saying that you don't like some of the rulings, some of the court orders?
I think the rulings will be overturned, yeah.
Let me ask you about one man and one court order. Kilmer Abrego Garcia. He's the Salvadoran man who crossed into this country illegally, but who is under a protective order that he not be sent back to El Salvador. Your government sent him back to El Salvador and acknowledged in court that was a mistake. And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him to facilitate his return to the United States. What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time, was not appointed by us. Should not have said that. And just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands,
He came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has ordered you to facilitate that
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
But
Terry.
the buck stops in this office.
No. I follow the law. You wouldn't follow the law. If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he
Supreme
is.
Court says what the law is.
He follows the law. Okay, where do I even begin? So first of all, Leonard, as you know,
Is he the boss or isn't he? Can he make?
He is. But let's dissect this. First of all, he made a claim that has never been proven, that this guy, Garcia, beat his wife. That has never been proven in a court of law. He has never been charged. That is misinformation. In fact, the wife is the one that wants him to come back to be with her family and to be a father. Donald Trump is an adjudicated rapist. He was proven in a court of law, found liable for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll. Donald Trump has 25 women, actually more than 25 women, including his ex-wife in court documents. She said in a deposition under oath that Donald Trump raped her, and then he paid her off. And over 25 women have accused him of sexual abuse. But Donald Trump wants to say that this man abused his wife. By the way, hasn't been proven in court. I would say there's more evidence that Pete Hegseth has abused women than anything that this guy Garcia has been accused of. But Donald Trump chose that man to be his Secretary of Defense with the nuke codes. But yet, he blames attorneys because he's a coward. That's who Donald Trump is. He's been a coward his entire life, whether it be dodging the military or not standing up to women who are intelligent, beautiful women. He doesn't want people like that. He wants dopes. Maybe some people would consider Caroline Leavitt to be attractive. I think she's a dope. I think she's ugly on the inside for sure. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I think you could make the better case for her, but I'll leave that one alone. And he's claiming that he abused his wife. Never been proven in a court of law, Leonard. Never.
Can I make a legal point?
Yep.
So on a legal basis, I was talking a little bit about what makes you a gang member earlier: self-admission, association, but also how you make your money and how you live your life. If your proceeds come from selling drugs and violence and victimizing people, that could lend to you possibly being a gang member. But here's the thing: even if there was a domestic issue, even if that's true, that has no credibility toward calling him a gang member. Just because you can't just commit a crime and say, well, he committed a petty larceny at Walmart, so he must be a gang member. No, it doesn't work like that.
Just like if you're an undocumented immigrant, that doesn't warrant being sent to one of the highest maximum security prisons in the world. You're right.
But even the tattoos, even if it was there,
right?
Because I documented many gang members in my life. I know what it takes, and it's not that simple.
If Brian Shapiro, yes, I'm speaking the third person now. If Brian Shapiro had a tattoo that said I was a member of the Crips, does that mean that police officers have the right to arrest me with no due process and put me behind bars? And by the way, he doesn't even have a tattoo that says he's a member of MS-13.
And it has to be corroborated.
In a court of law.
I've testified in federal court on a RICO case, many RICO cases. I personally testified and had to show why I thought people were certain gang members for the enhancement. And so I know what it takes. And trust me, it's not easy. I was grilled. It's not he had a tattoo on his hand. No.
Well, guess what,
It's
Leonard?
not like that.
I agree with you. That's a good point. And guess what? I don't need a tattoo to tell me that Donald Trump has sexually abused women. I don't need a tattoo to tell me that Donald Trump has been a snake oil salesman his entire life who never respected the rule of law. I don't need a tattoo to tell me that he's a terrible human being, a terrible businessman, an abuser who's gone into women's locker rooms without their permission while they were changing. I don't need a tattoo to tell me that Donald Trump has sexually spoken about his own daughter. If she wasn't my daughter, I would date her. And he's commented that she's voluptuous, talked about her body. I don't need a tattoo to tell me that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were best friends. Jeffrey Epstein is on audio saying that Donald Trump was one of his best friends. And I certainly don't need a tattoo to tell me that Donald Trump was on the Epstein flight list at least 7 times. He's lived his whole life as a fraud and an abuser of women, a dishonest man, and that's putting it bluntly. And his father was arrested at a Klan rally. We know who Donald Trump is. We know who his family is and his 2 sons, Uday and Kusei, also known as Don Jr. and Eric Trump. And we know his daughter made over $600 million in Chinese trademarks when she was working for her father. This is a despicable family, and I hope they all go to hell. With that, I will open up the phone lines. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. We got Leonard Cardinal in studio. Always love it when Leonard's here. Decades-long lieutenant and police officer, and it's always great to get his take on all of these issues. And yes, I do want to open up the phone lines now, MAGA or not. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Also, we're reading your questions and comments in the YouTube Super Chat. You could also go on my website, pushingthelimits.live, where you can make donations if you would like. Again, that number is 702-221-7283. All right, we go to Numchuck, my producer, who's going to be telling us who is on the line first. I will let him choose, by the way, this time, who is on the line first. Numchuck, who are we going to? Let's go to Brittany. Brittany, where are you calling from? Brittany, are you there? Okay, I'm not responsible for that. Numchuck just hung up on Brittany. It must have been something she said. I don't know. Brittany, please call back. I apologize. Let's go to Liz. Hi, Liz. Thanks for calling in. Where are you calling from, Liz?
I'm calling from Ohio.
Well, what's on your mind, Liz?
I've been kind of watching all this and digging a little deeper, and I really don't think Trump is that stupid. And I want to say this because he's been a con man for over 40 years. Okay, so he knows how to play this game. He knows how to put up fires everywhere. Mm-hmm. And what I would really like somebody to do is to follow the money. Because the last time he was in office, $3 billion left the Pentagon to build a wall that never got built. He took money from FEMA and other places. Where did this money go? Mm-hmm. Whose pockets is it in? And what is Trump and Musk doing right now?
Yeah.
Where's all this money?
I think here's what I will say. You could tell me whether you disagree. Here's what I think Trump is good at. He's very good at manipulating people and lying, whether it be women or in business. He's a horrible human being. He's not a very pragmatic person. He certainly has no empathy. He's a terrible human being, and he's very stupid when it comes to a lot of things.
And it doesn't make you smart. If you can con people, it just means maybe
you're a bad person.
You have a bad soul and you're a good liar. It doesn't mean you're smart, because you could be really unintelligent and be able to con people.
Sure.
By lying to them and by persuading them in ways that they're not able to resist, like a snake oil salesman. They can believe that they're doing the best thing for you. But I can tell you in government, I don't know where the money went. Did it walk out the back door? Did it build some houses and some pools somewhere? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say Trump is a smart guy, because he's not. He's a manipulator. He's a scumbag. You name it. So I agree with you, my dear.
You don't have to be smart to be mean-spirited.
Yeah. Thank you for the call, Liz.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. I'm just saying that he's done it so long that he's actually smart at doing this.
I would disagree.
Actually good at putting fires all over the place, so that nobody can see what he's literally doing.
There's a part of me that I understand what you're saying, Liz, but then there's a part of me that agrees with Leonard, where I don't think you're smart just because you manipulate people and you manipulate the media and you're a bad person.
Can I just give you a quick analogy?
Yeah.
You have a 10-year-old with a bike. Are you smart enough to talk him out of giving up the bike, or are you just going to be mean to him and take it?
Right.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
You're not smart enough to talk him out of it, so you just take it. So mean-spirited doesn't necessarily mean you're intelligent.
I will say this. Most of you are not very smart if you still support Donald J. Trump. I will say that. 702, thank you, Liz. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I do want to go back to the YouTube Super Chat. Darcy says, I am so late. Thanks as always, Brian. You're a mensch. Can one be entered twice in the contest? Yes, Darcy, one can. And Darcy is talking about the contest where you can do a segment with me on air next month if you make a donation of $25 or more. And Darcy Merritt, you are entered into the contest to do a segment with me next month, Darcy. And the more donations you have, the better, certainly the better chance you have. Thank you, Aaron, as well. I refer to Caroline Levitt as Caroline Levitt. That's actually a pretty good one.
Caroline?
Yeah, Caroline Levitt.
Who's the lady that does the parody on social media? She does her so well.
I spoke to her. I want to try to get her on the show. She's very good.
Funny.
Shelley says, good impression, Brian, but my question is to you, has he subscribed to Farmers already, or is he just talking about it? Yeah, well, that's a really good question, Shelley. It's a very, very good question. I'm not John DiDomenico. I can't do a spot-on Donald Trump impersonation. Let's get back to the phone calls at 702-221-7283. Let's go to Mr. Canada, who I assume is calling from Canada. You are a Canadian, Mr. Canada. What's going on?
Yeah, it's Mr. Canada. You've talked to me before, but no problem.
Good to have you on. Good to have you on, my friend.
I got a question. I was listening to this, he calls it a fake report, when I mentioned in the Super Chat about debunking the tattoos. I still don't know why he has not been sued. And the second of all is, how is this getting away from everybody? Like, are you, not you particular, in America, how are you guys so stupid? Like, what the fuck? Sorry.
Well, watch the language. Watch
you guys.
Watch the language.
What's wrong? What? Sorry, what's your what's?
I think there's a
the
lot.
problem?
So I think there's multiple problems here. And Leonard, if I'm missing anything, please let me know.
Well, they probably don't have the money to start with to initiate a lawsuit.
Yeah, that could be. I think a lot of these people are very ill-informed and uneducated. And I think.
Well, yeah, I get that. I get that, and it's been like, and not to put you're intelligent. You guys are intelligent, but all the right-wing nut jobs out there,
yeah,
you just follow the money. That's all you do. It's grift, and they go off the rage, the hate, and that's why Canada here, we had to go for a 2-tier system. Normally they go for 4, but we had to, collaborate with everybody to make sure the conservatives here in Canada didn't win, because he has the same talking points as Trump. He is the Trump light.
Hold on,
win thanks to
hold on, Mr. Canada. Mr. Canada, are you trying to say that you're not going to be the 51st state? Is that what you're trying to say, sir?
Exactly. Exactly what Carney said. That's why I back Carney.
He won on a landslide.
Because Carney, it will defend. Because if Pierre Poilievre would have won, he says in his last tweet, stay out of again, he would have folded like a freaking wet napkin and sold us out to the freaking American, not to you, but to Trump and everybody else, and I would have lost my goddamn mind. I actually had to leave work today. I had a big argument with my boss. He's a huge Trump fan. I'm like, why? Well, he's a businessman. Okay, yeah, I explained to him he lost 3 casinos. One's about to go down, and the market has crashed. Oh, well, the market is good. I'm like, no, it's not. Look at the stocks.
I want to ask you one more question, Mr. Canada, before we let you go here. If you had the opportunity, it's got to be PG-13 for radio purposes. If you were in a room with Donald Trump right now, what would you say to him?
Oh, man, I can't say it. I can't. I can't.
Try. Our listeners want to know. Try, but PG-13.
Step down.
Yeah.
Get out of our country. Stay out of our business. This is our country, not yours. Piss off.
I love it.
I thought it was going PG for a minute there, but then
piss off. I like it.
Love you, Brian. I'll talk to you soon. I'll continue supporting you.
Thank you,
Mr. Canada.
Thank you, Mr. You're the best, Mr. Canada. Piss off. I love to hear a Canadian say that. That's
we were
great.
G, and then we kind of went into PG. So.
I like Mr. Canada. Thanks for the call, my friend. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. Hey, Paul, what's going on, man?
Hey, man. Hey, did you hear about that case in Oklahoma City?
Which one?
The one where the ICE agents came into their house. I think it was on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Did you hear about that?
Is this the mother? Because I know there's a story of a mother that was breastfeeding her 1-year-old daughter. I don't know if that's the case you were talking about, because I did it. So before you tell your story, Paul, let me just tell mine real quickly. That would be my ADD kicking in. But there is a mother who was breastfeeding her 1-year-old daughter. I did a TikTok video and a YouTube video about this today. The father is a U.S. citizen, and not only was she deported while breastfeeding her 1-year-old daughter, who has a medical condition, who had to actually go to the hospital when they separated them. But this woman was not given any due process, and she'd already put in the request and was waiting to hear back about being legal. And they deported her, and they did not give her due process, and she was separated from a 1-year-old. They did not give the 1-year-old the opportunity to go with the mother. Is this the country that we are living in? Is this the country that you wanted to live in? Anyway, Paul, go ahead with your story. I wanted to just share that one.
So evidently there was 20 ICE agents that were going into a house in Oklahoma City, and this was from Rachel Maddow, so she reported it last night.
Is the woman with the 3 daughters?
Yes.
Okay.
They broke into the house, kicked the door down, broke the windows. They dragged them outside in their underwear and their pajamas. They wouldn't allow them to get dressed. They took all of their life savings, their phones, their laptops, their iPads. They just moved from Maryland. They're U.S. citizens. They had the wrong people. They said, it's not us, it's not us. They left them out there. They're at gunpoint in the middle of the night. They didn't know if they were being kidnapped, robbed. They didn't leave a
Hey,
card.
Paul. Hey,
And
Paul.
she goes, yeah.
Do you remember when Roger Stone was taken into custody and Republicans for months were crying that I can't believe they went in there in the middle of the night and arrested him? Do you remember all the crying that MAGA Republicans did? Where's the outcry?
know.
Where's the outcry? Go ahead, Paul. Where's the outcry when it comes to this?
Buddy, I'm with you, dude. But they told her it could take days or months to get her belongings back. It's considered quote unquote property. That's your life savings, Brian.
They took her
US
life
citizens.
savings. They did.
Yeah. They just left her there, Brian. They drug out her family in their goddamn underwear. And MAGA's like, yeah, I want a real man. It's, one more thing. I've had this conversation on TikTok Lives about, how Trump is an adjudicated rapist. And I said, let me ask you a question. What if Donald Trump had raped your mom or your sister? Would you still vote for him? And they say no. So it's okay if it happens to Gene Carroll, if it happens to a stranger. But if it affects you, all of a sudden you care. And that's really where we are, Brian. They really just don't give a shit if it happens to anybody else. They don't care who's harmed, who's hurt, as long as the darkness doesn't come over their door.
And Paul,
And the reality is,
we could talk about gun control unless it happens to you. We could be talking about
I know.
health care unless it happens to you. We could be talking about anything. We could be talking about your kids being dropped off at school and you don't get a chance to pick them up because they were gunned down by a shooter that had an AR-15. Until it happens to you. Listen, I'm even going to talk about the Cheneys for a moment. And listen, I do respect the fact that Liz Cheney and her father, Dick Cheney, even though he was a terrible vice president, I do respect the fact that at least when it came to this last election, they were on the right side of history.
I like Liz Cheney.
I do, but, I still use the term hypocrite. Here's what I mean by that. Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney were very anti-gay marriage. They did not want gay people to be married, which I think is a bigoted view. And I think it's sick.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden they found out that a family member was gay. And then all of a sudden they decided to change their mind. I find that despicable. Now, I'm glad they're on the right side now. And I would rather support, if I had to, somebody like Liz Cheney than, some a-hole that's, like a Marjorie Taylor Greene or a Lauren Boebert, because at least Liz Cheney chose her country over party, which I will always respect. But it's just a microcosm of where the Republican Party has always been. It's worse now than ever, but it's until it happens to them. They don't have empathy and they don't think about other people that are struggling. They only think about themselves.
Right. They're apathetic. The individualism is spreading across America, and it's popular because that's, in my opinion, that's how Trump and his administration are. They only see in very short. They don't have the empathy. They don't look at the bigger world. They don't look at the bigger picture. They don't look at the poor and the hungry. They claim to be Christians, but they never say anything good about the poor or the hungry. They never say anything about the people who are in need, the elderly, the people who are injured, the Vietnam vets who come back injured and messed up, sometimes mentally or emotionally. They just let thousands, tens of thousands of veterans go with no jobs. So those people, they're, like you said, it's individualism that's spread pretty widely.
It is, and the last thing I'll say is, it's just watching what you were saying today about this dumpster fire orange baby. He is the most stupidest, idiotic, unintelligent human being on God's earth, but they're going to take the stupidest, most immoral, vile, bankrupt white man over their most qualified black woman. And at the end of the day, that's really why we're here today, is racism. Let's be real, Brian.
I think that's a big part of it, bigotry in general, Paul, and it's always good to hear from you, and I appreciate your phone call. Where are all the MAGA Republicans today?
How about if we say openly how about if you say on the air that you promise to be nice if they call?
I can't promise that.
You can't?
I can't. No,
you
I can't
promise
do
to...
I can't do it. If they're nice to me, then I'll be nice to them. I might say they're wrong and misinformed, but no, I can't promise that. By the way, can I announce this? Somebody yesterday called into this show, and I thought it was actually quite funny and pathetic. I have they're a MAGA supporter. And if those of you that listen to the show regularly, you know the call I'm talking about because I posted it. And it was one of the weirdest insults I've ever heard because somebody had called in and they said, you sleep on a twin bed. And my first reaction was, okay, that's really weird. I sleep on a king bed. And then my second reaction was, so what if I slept on a twin bed? They mock people who might be poor, and they mock somebody because they might be sleeping in a twin, as if there's anything wrong with that. Like, that's your insult? And that's my problem with these people. They're so stupid. They're mocking people that are probably themselves. This was a guy who
Well, I was going to ask you, how many of them you think sleep on twin beds? Or
I think that guy had a fantasy of sleeping in a twin bed with me. That's just my personal opinion. But it's like when I mock
how
somebody,
do you judge someone for the bed they sleep in?
I
That's
don't mock
crazy.
somebody for being poor. I don't mock somebody for the bed. I mock someone based on their character. Like example, when I called Donald Trump an orange orangutan, some people might say it's disrespectful to orangutans, and I apologize to all of them because I love orangutans. I make fun of Donald Trump because he's the one who makes fun of women on looks. He's the one who attacks Gold Star families and people who serve this country. So you're damn right I'm going to make fun of him and his disgusting obese body. Okay, 702-221-7283. Why don't we take a call from the UK? Why don't we do that? We love our callers from the UK. Let's go to Paul. Paul, what's going on, man?
Hi there, Brian. Thanks for taking the call.
Sure.
I just want to put this whole Trump is clever myth to bed, because I see this, especially in the UK. We had an economist on the other day on the BBC trying to explain why Trump is doing his tariffs. And I'm shouting at the TV because he's an idiot. He hasn't got any, there's no thought process. Now, for example, I watched this excellent interview yesterday with Trump where he actually had a proper journalist interviewing him. And Trump sat there and argued vehemently why that doctored photo with the words MS-13 or 15, I forget, on the guy's hand was a tattoo. He honestly couldn't look at that and realize that was put on with whatever font it was, Arial font. He really thought that was a real tattoo, that the guy would have this cryptic signs on there for this gang, and then explain it in letters on the top. He really thought that. He didn't have the thought process, the critical thinking to realize that's obviously been doctored.
Right.
And that's how this guy's a low IQ. I'll be surprised if, I would love to be a reporter and say, some say, Mr. President, your IQ is as high as 100, and he would think that was a positive.
He probably would.
He would think that's 100. He'd think it was 100 out of 100.
So I got to be honest with you. Sometimes, obviously I'll say Donald Trump is intentionally lying. But in the moment that you're talking about, I don't even think he was intentionally lying. I just think he's that stupid. He actually believed the image that he saw. Yeah, he actually believed the image that he saw, and he didn't realize that it was doctored. I mean, it's insane how stupid our president is.
He wouldn't let it go, no matter how much a fact was put in front of him, no matter how many times he was shown that it was inaccurate, and I think that's what I think that's partially what some of his followers like about him is they won't let the bone go, even when they know they're completely wrong and they have no facts, just talking points. You can only go so far on talking points.
I think that the doctoring of that image was done to explain the symbolism. So Stephen Miller, whoever, was saying, look, that's an M, and that's an S, because it's a skull, and so forth. I don't think it was meant as a fake tattoo, the letters. I think it was meant to explain the symbolism, in their view, at least. But Trump took it as being the part of the tattoo. I actually think that he is so thick, it's not unbelievable. This is the guy who said, why I suggested nuking hurricanes.
That's true. He did talk about nuking hurricanes. You're right.
Or injecting bleach to cure COVID.
Or ultraviolet light. How can we get the ultraviolet light inside somehow?
Well, the next day.
Whoa.
Well, hold on. Hold on. To Donald Trump's defense, the next day he said he was just joking. So we must believe him. He was just joking.
He's got no sense of humor, not proper. He's got a meanness.
He said the same thing about the Ukraine-Russia war. He said that he was being sarcastic and that he was just making a joke. And people tried to say that, and they showed clip after clip where he said, I would have it settled in 24 hours in a most serious face, in a most serious voice. He wasn't joking. He thought he could really do it.
No, that was no joke. Look, I listened to him saying that, as you say, we listened to him saying multiple, that was something he ran on. Yeah. And the people who were stupid enough to think that anybody could stop that conflict in 24 hours, those people lapped it all up. And he doesn't joke. He doesn't make those sorts of jokes.
Let me be very clear. Donald Trump's base believes that he is the next Messiah. Donald Trump's base, the ones who buy his stupid Bibles that Lee Greenwood makes in China for $3, okay, those people that buy the gold sneakers, they believe Donald Trump, and they believed him, and they probably still believe. And my question to them is, well, what is he waiting for? Innocent women and children are dying. They're being murdered in Ukraine. Why can't he just pick up the phone? And then he lies about President Xi and says they've talked plenty when President Xi and the Chinese government have been on the record
That's
as saying
embarrassing.
they have not spoken at all. President Xi refuses to speak to the orange
That's
orangutan.
embarrassing.
He embarrasses himself every single day. And then he has that North Korea type Kim Jong-un meeting with some that are in his administration today. And Pam Bondi saying, Mr. President, you've done the very, very, very best job of any president in the history of this country. She might also say, Pam Bondi might also say, Mr. President, you have the biggest penis of any president in the history of our country. Mr. President, you're in the best shape of any president we've ever had. You have the most natural skin and natural hair. Mr. President, you're the most attractive. That's really what they're doing.
Can I ask Paul a question?
Yeah.
Paul, do you think that he'll get his military parade on his birthday in June?
God, well, number one, I hope
it's $96 million.
I think he probably will.
Me too.
But I think it's disgusting. It makes me want to vomit an American president doing this. When he's sitting there scraping money, saving, doging money of people who need it. And then he goes and blows $100 million in his stupid birthday. And a military parade in America is disgraceful.
Yeah.
It's disgraceful.
Well, let me just mention one quick issue.
Might get it.
Yeah.
There's also
Paul, I just want to say thank you, by the way, for the phone call. I appreciate you, Paul. And
I thank you both for taking the call.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Paul. Anytime, Paul. I love having.
Wonderful show. It's a
Thank
wonderful
you.
show.
You too, and I appreciate that. And I love my listeners, especially those in the UK. I appreciate you. Go ahead.
The only thing I wanted to mention was that the experts, the street engineers, also told Trump that the streets that we have in America can't handle the weight of tanks and large vehicles. So they're going to basically ruin the streets as well. And he's willing to do it.
Unfortunately, you're right. I agree with you. Juan in the YouTube super chat says, I do feel like there's good news when the polls show that most Americans are now opposed to the Trump administration. It's a positive sign that there's sane people out that see through the BS. Well, I agree with you, Juan, but some of these people I would imagine are those who did not support Kamala Harris, and they are very complicit and maybe a little too late. Mr. Canada says, this is my super chat. I have a love for Americans. We will never be the 51st state. You are the only person I've donated to because I trust you. Canada elbows up. Well, Mr. Canadian, that means a lot to me, and I really do appreciate you for saying that, sir. And you please call back anytime. Mr. Canadian says, Lindsey Graham said Trump will be the Pope. Yeah, that's that. Maybe he'll hold a Bible upside down in front of a church where you know, where they don't even want him there. Peter,
I got a good joke about his qualifications for that job, but I'm not going to bring it up.
Okay, well, you have a compliment. Peter is donated, and he said Leonard for governor of Nevada. So there you go. Thank you, Peter, for that one. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. One more to read, and then we'll get to some more calls. Sainted Whisper said, did you see the Fox News 100 Days with Faulkner? Just lies all day about due process, and a guy named Jay had to school her. Just lies all day. Sainted, I did not see that, but since you are mentioning it, I will tonight, and maybe I'll discuss it a little bit tomorrow, and thank you for your support. Let's go to Terry, back to the phone calls. Hey, Terry, what's going on?
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Good afternoon, Leonard.
Hi,
welcome to day 101 of hell. I just wanted to let you know that just a couple things. I was on the YMCA gym today and read a notice on a whiteboard, and it said that the AC in that building was going to take 5 to 8 weeks to fix. They are waiting on parts that are not available. Why do you think that is, Brian?
Because they're from China.
Yeah, I might beg to claim that maybe that has something to do with the tariffs. I could be. No, hold on. Terry, wait, hold on. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's Joe Biden's fault. It's Pete Buttigieg's fault.
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. You're right.
You see, I'm trying to help you out. It's Barack Obama's fault, and maybe we'll blame AOC. And I don't know. I guess we could talk about the radical left. Let's blame the Clintons while we're at it too. Let's blame Hunter Biden and Burisma.
Right. Let's just bring them all in. Yeah. Last thing, and then I'll let you go. Kind of a little theory here. I think that maybe the reason Trump doesn't want to bring Mr. Garcia back might have something to do with the tattoos.
It very well might. It very well might.
I'm thinking maybe he doesn't want people to see what's really on those hands.
Listen, if Donald Trump ever goes into surgery, I will call the doctor a hero, or if they brings in a some sort of tattoo artist to put on his face adjudicated rapist. Yes, I will call that man a hero. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Simon. Simon is next on PTL. Hello, Simon.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Brian. Just first, a real quick thing. We have some MAGA in the chat room who seem to think all my calls are scripted. Tell me, has any call I've ever had sounded scripted?
No, in fact, I don't have scripted calls, and these are people that call into the show, MAGA. It's so funny because sometimes on my YouTube page, I'll see some of the comments when my producer posts them later in the day of some of these imbecile, inbred MAGA callers, and some people think that, because they're so stupid, that it was somehow not a real call. I could assure you that these are all real calls. That's how stupid some of these MAGA supporters are.
Well, they can't believe that people call in and support facts and truth and being on the right side, so they have to make some kind of excuse. Maybe Biden is giving them the scripts,
Joe Biden's fault. It's Joe Biden's fault.
He provided the scripts?
Well, if they are, I want to know where my damn check is. Anyway, I wanted to tap, since you all brought up Christianity and fake Christianity, there is a religion behind not just Donald Trump, but the right-wingers that are actually yanking the man's string. The man isn't smart enough to pull this off on his own,
I agree with you. I think the only person these days that's yanking Donald Trump could possibly be Pam Bondi or Caroline Levitt. I'm sorry, that's a terrible joke, sir. But it's certainly not Melania Trump these days. She's not yanking anything. Maybe Trudeau.
Ooh.
Maybe Trudeau.
Melania was disgusted with him at the Pope's funeral.
Yeah.
I mean, she just looked like
she didn't want to be there.
She could not stand being around
Do you know that he tweeted in the middle of that funeral? He went on Truth Social talking about a football player being drafted. Can you imagine how sick? Can you imagine how sick of a human being you have to be to do something?
He wore
like
the
that?
wrong color, a disrespectful color.
Yeah, he wears blue.
He started to fall asleep.
Yeah, but it's Sleepy Joe, though, right? Donald Trump is the guy that's falling asleep at the Pope's funeral. But yeah, it's Sleepy Joe. Simon, it's good to hear from you, my friend. I appreciate your phone call, sir. Thank you. And that call was not scripted, believe it or not. And if you think it was scripted, we could just blame Joe Biden for it.
You know what, Brian? We don't have to script anything. You know why? Because this is too easy. All you have to do is bring up the facts, and you don't need a script.
That's true. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Chris, who's also not scripted. Hello, Chris. Welcome to PTL. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I'm in Michigan, and of course, the Orange Man was in Michigan yesterday, touting all his, the tariffs are bringing this back and that back. I just don't. I am so tired of trying to figure these people out because I can't.
Yeah.
I'm too old to be figuring stuff out, but I'm just so sick of the lies. I'm so sick of the ignorance. I'm so sick. I get mad and I call them stupid, and all of a sudden I'm a libtard, I'm a dick puppy, which I don't even know what that means. It's like, okay, I can't call you stupid, but you can call me every name in the book.
Yeah. Well, here's the way I would deal with somebody like that. First of all, they're probably not worth 5 seconds of your time.
True.
But a lot of these people are very brainwashed. You can't have a conversation with them for longer than 10 seconds to realize how ignorant they are. And they're just not worth it. They're some of the dumbest people that America has to offer. And I went to these rallies because I had to. When you see these people with their Bibles and their Confederate flags, F Joe and the Ho, they are some of the dumbest people that America has to offer. They are deplorables, as Hillary Clinton was correct in saying that. Donald Trump's base are a bunch of ill-informed, uneducated white people with 3 teeth who are probably having relations with family members.
And they like it that way. They like to be uninformed.
I think so. And they buy they complain about the price of inflation. They complain about the price of eggs, yet they'll buy $600 gold sneakers that are probably made in China for $5. That's how stupid these people are.
I know. It just blows my mind. And every once in a while somebody will say something like, oh, well, price of groceries and gas is coming down here, and everybody's going, well, where the hell do you live?
Yeah, that's true.
Nothing has went down here.
Yeah, but if things go up, let's blame that on Joe Biden. It's Joe Biden's fault.
Oh, well, exactly.
Yeah.
But, and my daughter's an OBGYN, and oh, my God, that poor girl has to put up with so much crap.
I'm sorry for what I'm so sorry for what she has to deal with, my dear, and I do appreciate your call. These are deplorables, the same idiots who were protesting in front of Target because they didn't like the fact that Target was selling some shirts that were pro-LGBTQ, because they're hateful people. They're also ignorant people. And I interviewed one of these idiots who came in studio. Can you imagine if you're a mother and you have kids, and you wake up on a Sunday morning and you say to yourself, you know what, I'm not going to spend the day with my kid or my husband or ex-husband. I'm not going to take my kid to the park. I'm not going to be a mother. I'm going to wake up and my first thing on my mind is picketing in front of Target, because I don't want people going in there shopping because they're selling "it's okay to be gay" shirts. Can you imagine how miserable your life must be that that's what you decide to do?
The level of hatred, the level of disdain, the inhumanity of it is just, it's shocking.
But you see,
it really is.
Our governor won't go after people like that. Our despicable governor. Yes, that's right. Joe Lombardo, the governor of Nevada, is despicable. But you see, he'll go after a bunch of peaceful protesters around the country that are anti-Trump, and he'll say they don't care about the issues. They're getting paid by the DNC, which, by the way, was a lie.
Inaccurate.
But you see, when Donald Trump decides to pardon somebody who he said in court was a victim of, in Michelle Fiore, who stole money from a police fund for a statue for a fallen officer, you won't hear anything from Joe Lombardo criticizing Donald Trump for that pardon, because Joe Lombardo is a coward. 702-221-7283, the number to call. We're going to Mark. Mark is next up on PTL. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Brian. How are you?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
First of all, to the YouTube chat, happily retired. Yes, Mark S., the guy I exposed that is making $1,680 a month on Social Security, had to change his name to happily retired Merrill. So you guys in YouTube, you know who I'm talking about.
Is he a MAGA that's living on
hit-
Social Security?
Yeah, MAGA that hates the government, but
I thought they don't like
taking the
Social
checks.
Security. I thought they.
Yeah, interesting. But they still accept them, though, don't they? Yeah, interesting.
The other thing I want to mention, hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Is Whitmer.
Yep.
Now, I know everyone's going to say that she had to do it for the people of Michigan. She had to get what she had to get. She did the least amount for the deal or whatever to get on the good side. My opinion, and it's just an opinion, you never make a deal with the devil. Trump has never given a fair deal, and they're going to use this against her. They're going to have commercial clips. They're going to have all sorts of things showing that Whitmer bowed to Trump.
I thought it was good leadership. I have to disagree with you, sir. Sorry.
I understand, but you don't bow with Trump. And I don't think my governor, Shapiro, would ever do anything like that.
But when you're
What do you guys-
elected, you represent hundreds of thousands of people. You represent the state, and at some point, you have to decide that maybe your political career, and there's not enough of this, in my opinion, maybe your Democratic political career, you might lose too many political points by doing so. But if it's benefiting your people, if you're doing if you kowtow because you have to get what you have to get, remember, they're elected to represent people, not themselves.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I appreciate the call, Mark. I have no problem with what Whitmer did. If she thanked Donald Trump or she shook his hand or gave him a hug or whatever, then that would be a different story.
Now, Bill Maher, that's a different story.
Yeah, well,
but
Bill Maher's a
we're not-
scumbag. I'm done with Bill Maher. He's an absolute scumbag, and he's a phony. 702-221-7283.
He got caught slipping.
Yeah, he did. Let's go to Tiffany. Tiffany's next on PTL. What's up, Tiffany?
Hi, Brian. I really enjoy when Leonard is on. I enjoy his input to the show.
As do I.
I called a while back just before the election happened, and my husband, he is active duty military. We live in southeast Georgia, and unfortunately, it didn't go the way that we wanted it to. And I've asked my husband, do you see pictures of Trump and stuff, in his, at his command? And he said, luckily, no, I don't see any of that stuff, and we don't really talk about any of that at work, which I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
I will say, in our whole nice neighborhood that we have here, there's only one person with an unfortunate Trump flag. That is my neighbor. I don't know why, but I guess there are probably reasons. I will say, my thing is, I think I'm liking the Democrats, what they've been doing. I really like the sit-in that they did at the Capitol.
Yeah.
I would like there to be rounds of that more often. Everyday people coming up and telling, everyone their stories. I think there should be more of that and more of what the Democrats could do. I do like that they're showing the difference between what Trump is doing, all the corruption and all that. But I think what the Democrats need to start doing is also being like, well, we can do this. When we get to our midterms, like, we're going to do this for you. We're going to help the economy doing it this way. We're going to help public education doing it this way. I think there needs to be more of that versus, because there's always going to be something with Trump. There's always going to be something new.
Tiffany,
So
can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a
Yes.
question? So that the sit-in and the 25-hour speech by Booker from New Jersey and the harsh letter that Senator Schumer sent to Donald Trump, and the fact he says we're working hard every day and we're trying to draw a contrast. And but you said we kind of need more of that. But has any of that moved the needle? Any of the sit-ins, any of the speeches, the long speeches, the Hakeem Jeffries outside the Capitol pointing his finger?
You're right.
Right, and so I think what moves the needle more is some kind of legislation or some kind of.
Oh, absolutely.
But right now, do we have a leader? Could you name a leader in the Democratic Party that's directly against Donald Trump at all times and say they are leading the party? Because I can tell you, I don't see one.
The only person that I've seen that has actually, like, just no BS, but honestly should say more is Pritzker. That's the only person I've seen that's actually said anything, at least against Trump, like verbally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree. There needs to be.
He's good.
There
I
needs
think
to be more.
I think thank you.
The people are rising, and thank you for
I
what
agree.
you do.
Thank you, Tiff. I appreciate your
Tiffany.
phone call. I think there are people that can be in that position. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I think there are people that are capable, and some of those people are governors, Democrat governors. We'll see what the next couple of years shape up to be. Let's go 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Dennis. Dennis is next up on PTL. Hi, Dennis.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Leonard. How
Hi
you
there.
guys doing?
Good. What's on your mind, Dennis?
I listen to you quite a bit.
Thank you.
I live in Seattle, and talking about the tariffs, my granddaughter works at a large grocery chain here.
Uh-huh.
And because of the tariffs, they can't get a lot of products anymore.
That doesn't
and
surprise
nothing
me.
to replace the products.
Yeah. What are those
But the
products?
thing is,
What are those products, if you don't mind me asking?
groceries.
Groceries, yeah. Don't you find
Yeah,
it interesting, sir? And by the way, I'm sorry. You said it was your granddaughter. I'm sorry to hear that. Don't you think it's interesting that Donald Trump was the guy who said on day one, not only would he end the war in Ukraine, but he said he would lower the price of groceries. Do you remember when he said
And
that?
improve the economy.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And he campaigned on that.
Right. Right.
He campaigned on it.
That's true. That's true.
So can I ask
and
you
we
a
go to-
question there, Dennis? So were you better
Sure.
off a few months ago with Biden's economy and things the way they were set, or are you better off now?
Better off then. And I'm 72. I can sleep better too.
Yeah.
You're
right.
They call him Sleepy Biden, Sleepy Joe. How about Dozing Dawn?
Well, listen, you're not alone. And guess what, sir? That's why his approval numbers are some of the worst in American history, because people like you understand what he's doing to this country.
The worst since Eisenhower, I believe.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. The dangers of Donald Trump and what he has done to this country. And like I said, that is why the numbers are so bad for Trump. But you hang in there, my friend, at 72 years old.
Thanks,
You keep
Dennis.
going.
yeah.
You keep going. We're going to get through this together. As a PTL family and as a country, we're going to get through this together. And let's look forward to those midterms, and let's get some of these MAGA deplorables out of office. What do you say?
And you know the mega deplorables, they're still saying his ratings are real high.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. His ratings are real high, just like Kid Rock is a rock legend. Thank you for the call, Dennis. I appreciate you, my friend. Just like Lauren Boebert, if she takes you to Beetlejuice, she'll be very ladylike. That's what I heard as well. You take her to Beetlejuice. Would you take? Oh, you're a married man. I can't ask you that.
No, but my wife got some of her favorite socks ordered from China, and they never came. It's been a month and a half. And so the products that we're ordering from China aren't even, they're just saying contact us and we'll give you your money back.
Let me tell you something.
They're not even coming in.
If Lauren Boebert asked me, just to go to a Beetlejuice play with her, I would have to bring protection with me, just to be in the theater with her. 702-221-7283.
And make sure no video cameras.
Is the number to call if you want to be. Yeah, exactly. If you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Terry. Terry is next up on PTL. Hey, Terry.
Hey, Brian.
Yes. What's up, Terry? What's on your mind, sir?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I've been hanging in here for a while now. I'm like, I've been watching a lot of the comments on your show too, and we got a lot of MAGA guys in there making comments, but I don't understand why they, don't call in a little bit more.
I have an explanation, Terry. I have an explanation.
I know the explanation because they're too stupid to actually make a point, or even, all I can do is just praise and bend the knee and kiss the ring. Okay. For quite frankly, last night on that 100-day speech of his, it was sickening. I can't understand why they'll applaud him over. All he does is just sit and malign people over and over and over again, but they just keep applauding that. Like at some point or another, I find, I feel like that. I make a lot of posts on Facebook and stuff, and they're all anti-Trump shit. I mean, but they're messing with my post and everything. I can't even tell you.
Let me tell you something. So I did a radio show at another station several years back, and it was probably the most unhappy I've ever been in radio for a number of different reasons. Number one, it was a conservative radio station with Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, right? Just a bunch of Mark Levin, a bunch of idiots, right? And I got
my God.
And the station I was at, a bunch of nimrods were running the station. They were just nimrods. And by the way, the people that I had to deal with have all since been fired, and I wish them nothing but the worst. With that being said, I also had to deal with somebody around the show, somebody that I had to deal with who was just an awful human being in every sense of the word. And to have to deal with people like that every single day is very mentally challenging. And it was very difficult for me. And while I was in the ICU fighting for my life and I had COVID, a person that I had to see every day that I had to work with was spreading misinformation about vaccines. So it was a very difficult situation that I had to be put in. And I said to myself, I will never do that again. And I am so happy to be in a situation now where I get to do the show with people like Leonard and nice people here at KSHP. There's always going to be a percentage of idiots, whether it be in a YouTube chat or on TikTok, that are going to be despicable people. And I can tell you most of those people that make those types of statements behind their keyboard will never call into this show, and they'll never try to have a conversation with me.
Can I say something to Dennis?
Yeah, because you're right, sir. They're not smart enough to have a civil and semi-intelligent conversation.
But you know what, Dennis?
You and Leonard both, and Ron too. You guys are, you're the light in my life right now.
Well, that means a lot.
Don't feel beat down. It sounds like you're getting a little beat down because you make a lot of comments. But you have to remember one thing: bullies are always going to be bullies, and the only way you can deal with bullies is to become a victim or to stand up to them. And so we don't. I'll speak for myself, and I'm sure Brian kind of feels the same way. We don't have a choice. At this point, there's no one standing up to the bullies, so someone has to do it. And I think you should keep making your comments, and you should hang in there, and you should know that there are other people in the world that have a clear-eyed vision of what's actually going on, and they're not going for all the grifting and all the gaslighting.
Hang in there, my friend. We're going to get through this.
I'll never back down, man.
Good for you.
I was in my doctor's office yesterday, and I believe I actually because he actually came back to me, and he goes, well, I kind of felt like that during the Biden years. And I was like, but, okay, at least Biden had some integrity. And I didn't, asking about a guy who's standing up for us right now, which is Bernie Sanders, okay? I don't care what anybody says, but he actually is making a positive.
He's a good man. Yeah, Bernie Sanders, he did this show a few months ago. He's a decent man.
Healthcare for all.
And it sounds like you are one of those good, decent people as well. You just hang in there, buddy, and don't worry about these MAGA cowards in the chat because, they can go fly a kite. 702-221-7283. Al is calling out of Illinois. Let's go to Al is next. Hey, what's up, Al?
Hey, I was just wanting to share some things. I was watching some videos on attention span, and I don't know how true it is, but 7-second attention span, you know how easy it would be to say 2 weeks?
You're talking about Generation Z, that they have a 5-second attention span? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, they got to. Anyways, that's how they can slip by things. I mean, let's give a rundown real quick. COVID's just going to patch. You watch and see. Inject disinfectant. Kansas City, Kansas. Chernobyl's got a hole in it over in Ukraine. Sorry, I just got this stuff scribbled down.
Well, I will add something and say that Donald Trump's attention span lasts about as long as how much he did with Stormy Daniels, which is somewhere around 11 to 12 seconds, from what I understand.
Is that a fact? Is that confirmed? Is that a fact?
According to Stormy Daniels, yeah, he was quick to the trigger.
That's right. She did say that.
Yeah, quick to the trigger. The Mushroom Man was quick to the trigger. 12 seconds.
Did she say ever? Quickest ever? I can't remember.
I believe she said that on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. If memory serves me right, I could be wrong on that. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to run down on that, give a shout out to Canada and any other countries that are on our side, of course. I mean, our side. Yeah, Donald, he just doesn't understand that the Oval Office is not a boardroom. This isn't a boardroom. It ain't a board game.
Right.
It's not The Apprentice. I mean, what the...
I don't think it was a board meeting. It was a cheerleading session.
Isn't that the problem? Trump thinks like this is some sort of reality show.
He does.
It's actual reality, you dumbass, you felonious dumbass. It's actual reality. Sir, I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. We got about 10 minutes left.
Is felonist a word?
Felonist. Yeah, felonist. Adjudicated rapist felonist. I'm making up my own words here. Let's go to Yvonne, who I believe is calling from Canada, I'm guessing. Yvonne, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Leonard.
Hi there.
Leonard, your orders will never come now from China because they won't put the smaller orders on an empty cargo ship because there's no ships going into the U.S. right now.
Yeah, they
And
were saying
thank
this
you
morning
for the
they're turning
previous-
around in the ocean and going back.
Yep. And thank you for the previous caller for saying sorry because that sort of thing. Last weekend, I was in Sarnia, which is across the river from Port Huron, Michigan. And in Port Huron, Michigan, they had a little rally for us Canadians to let us know that they were sorry and they wanted to wave at us and wanted to remind us that they still love us. Well, we still love you guys, and I don't think you'll have any problem coming to Canada. If you want to come in to visit us, have some Tim Hortons coffee.
Yeah.
And
I love Canada.
As long as you don't wear MAGA hats or the Confederate flag.
I will say this though, I'm very angry about your Toronto Maple Leafs. They cost me some money yesterday, so I'll just.
Oh, I know, it's sad, isn't it?
I'm very angry at your Maple Leafs, and the Ottawa Senators screwed me. So I will say that.
Well, the Golden Knights won.
Yeah,
The Knights did win
I
yesterday.
totally understand.
That's true. I'm just joking. Thank you for the call, my dear. It's good to hear from you. I love my Canadian callers, and I'm very humbled that I have listeners all over the world, and it means the world to me. So thank you. And also some of the most informed callers, I will say.
Why is that? Why do you suppose that is?
I have a lot of very intelligent.
What about if we
informed
promise
people.
the MAGA callers that we'll go easy with the facts?
It's kind of like
and we'll kind of not present too many facts to give them an opportunity to make their point.
So I agree, Leonard. It's kind of like how I feel about food. I don't like spicy food. However, once in a while, sprinkling a little bit of spice in there, if it doesn't ruin the flavor. If you have too much spice, it ruins the flavor of the food and it makes me nauseous, right? That's how I feel about MAGA supporters. But on this show, give me a little bit of spice. I'll get a little bit of stupidity in there from time to time. Makes it entertaining. Anyway, let's go. Who are we going to next here? Let's go to Teresa. Teresa is next on PTL. Hi, Teresa. Where are you calling from?
I am calling from South Texas.
All right.
And I would like to give a shout out to Yvonne and to Canada, and because I appreciate their thoughts and prayers during this time. Well, one of the things I was thinking about with all the protests and the gatherings going on in our country, which to me, I grew up, my parents were activists, so I guess it's in my blood, but and my husband and I were talking, and we were thinking, geez, what if we got a MAGA flag? You can buy them around my town. You can buy them on the street corner. And what if we did the symbolic burning of a Trump flag? You know, it is our constitutional right to do so, thanks to the Supreme Court. So, to me, you know, being that that's part of our what is it, free speech? I was just wondering, you know, just some of the stuff. I'm so angry, and I know I'm not alone, and I know in my area that people don't speak out like they should, because I live in a small town, and so it just.
Well, Teresa, let me just say that other than it being second-degree arson, burning a flag in public is probably not a good idea.
That's true. Unless it's a Trump flag.
Yeah, well, no, you know, everybody got freaked out over, you know, burning the American flag. So, you know, I was thinking, well, shoot, you know.
Yeah.
No, as long as it's done in a way that's safe for everybody and it's not, doesn't, you know,
well, of course.
It isn't a threat. But,
of course.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking that because, you know, like I said, there's a lot of small towns across this country, and we are steeped in MAGA everywhere.
What was that that incredible song by that scumbag Jason Aldean? Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. By the way, that scumbag.
They said it wasn't about violence.
That scumbag. Okay, and that's what he is. He's a racist, bigot scumbag. And he was part of the October 1. He wasn't responsible for it. He was just putting on a show. But that guy never came back here and never did anything for charity when we lost over 60 lives. So that scumbag could take his stupid "Try That in a Small Town" trailer trash song and shove it up his ass. Let's go to Frankie. Frankie is next on PTL. What's up, Frankie?
Thank you.
Hi, Brian.
Hi.
Good show as usual.
Thank you.
Today I'm calling from a hospital. I've been in here for 11 days.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Bad.
I just wanted to thank you, though, for entertaining me and helping keep my spirits up during this trying time.
I'm sorry to hear that you're in the hospital, my friend, and I'm glad that we could maybe bring a little joy to your day. You don't have to share this, but if you can tell us what's going on, how are you doing, or what's going on with you?
Well, you see, I'm a diabetic, and not so long ago I got a wound on my right foot. Well, it very quickly and suddenly went to full infection.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Frankie. How old are you?
51.
We'll say a prayer for you,
How long have you had diabetes for?
I was diagnosed in 2006.
Gotcha. Well, I hope that you're doing okay. You're doing better. I'm glad you're in the hospital and they're taking care of you, and I hope you make a full recovery.
Me too.
Me too, as well.
Yeah.
I'll be glad when I can finally go home.
We'll say a prayer for you that everything turns out okay.
Are you on insulin, sir, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I'm not on it at home, but here in the hospital they give you insulin instead of your pills.
So you're a type 2 diabetic?
Yes.
I asked you that question, sir, because I think, as you know, under Joe Biden, Plan B and Plan D in your medical benefits, millions of Americans got their insulin capped at $35. And these MAGA deplorables will say, Donald Trump's the one that started it. Well, yeah, he started implementing it. But the reason why more people had access to it was because of Joe Biden. And then Donald Trump signed an executive order going back to his days where millions more Americans did not have access to it in their health care plan.
He mentioned it. Trump mentioned it, but couldn't get it through.
Right. And
so it actually went through on the Biden administration.
Correct. Right. Exactly. Go ahead, Frank. Frank, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yep.
Not really sure what else to say exactly.
Well, I'm going to tell you, we're all thinking about you, and we hope you make a full recovery, my friend. We're in your corner, and here's what I want you to do for me, okay? I want you to call us when you get out of the hospital and give us an update on how you're doing. Can you do that for us, Frank?
Of course.
I appreciate that, and we wish you the very best, and we're glad that you called into the show, and we're making your day a little better. Thank you so much. That means a lot. I know that means a lot to me when, no matter who you are or where you're from or what you look like, making your workday better, or in Frank's case, being in the hospital, which sucks, but we can give you a few laughs and make your day.
That's nice that he's cheered up by listening to the show.
Maybe I should have asked him, is it the orange orangutan that makes him laugh? I don't know, but I'll keep repeating it for him. Let's go to Rhonda quickly here. Rhonda, what's going on?
Hi, thanks. I'm out in California, and I have I have twins that both attend college, and I am very concerned about Charlie Kirk. I feel that he is not being reined in enough, and his message is frightening, and he is getting a lot of traction. And
well, he's getting a lot of traction from right-wing turds and racists and bigots. This is the guy who paid Kyle Rittenhouse to speak at his stupid Turning Point rallies. Listen, Charlie Kirk has a tremendous ego. He thinks he's much smarter than he actually is. He's very uneducated and he's very bigoted in nature. And unfortunately, Charlie Kirk makes a lot of money spreading bigotry and hatred, just like a Candace Owens or an Alex Jones. I put them all in the same category. They're grifters and they're despicable human beings, and he's a bigot, and he spreads his racism. And by the way, this guy,
he's in it for the money.
Yeah, of course he's in it for the money, and it's just he's despicable and he's disgusting. Wow. Well, we are up against the clock here. I know there are people waiting on hold, and I apologize. We'll have to get to those calls.
Phone lines are packed.
Always are. But we will get to those more of those phone calls tomorrow. I'm sorry we couldn't get to everybody. Programming note for you. My good friend and somebody that I admire very, very much. She's a great follow on social media, and she has a gazillion followers because she's awesome. JoJo from Jers, also known as Joanna Carducci.
We like JoJo.
She's the best, and she's going to be joining us on the program tomorrow, and certainly looking forward to that. And we're going to get into some more stuff tomorrow. Obviously, the news cycle seems to change, but what I would ask you all to do for me, because I get a lot of emails from people every day that say, how could I get more involved in the show and support the show? Get your PTL gear. And if you want to make any type of donation, $5, $10, $20 a month, you can do it at pushingthelimits.live, where there's a little button there where it says donate. And I read all the emails, and I appreciate all of you very much for reaching out to me. And of course, all of you that have been in the YouTube super chat. I appreciate your support as well. And Leonard, you are the best, my friend. It's always great to have you in studio here.
You are. Thank you for having me.
Of course, we always have a good time. And regards to your wife, and I expect some cookies next time because they're very, very good.
I will let her know. I'm on it.
It's just a request. It's not a demand. It's just a request. Your wife's cookies are very, very, very good. So I appreciate you being here, though, Leonard. Thank you so much for coming in and your service as a police officer. We appreciate you. All right, everybody.
Thanks,
That's a wrap. At PTL Radio Show. We just surpassed 94,000. Actually,
show.
We've picked up 200 subscribers just during the show. Wow. We're a little over 94,000 subscribers now, and I'm hoping that we can get to 100,000.
What are you going to do
at
100,000? You're going to have a party?
YouTube sends me a little award trophy gold thing that I'll share with everybody. I don't know exactly what it is, but that's what I've been told. And our rankings on YouTube continue to grow. And they are saying that within a year and a half, I'm going to have 250,000 subscribers.
Let's go.
So we will see. Thanks for being here, Leonard. I love all you guys out there. PTL Nation, we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody.